Hello everyone, and thanks for tuning in for the next part of What If Deku at Great Sage. Now I want to take a moment to give thanks to all the people who liked, subscribed and commented on the last video. It really means a lot. Now I'm going to stop wasting time and I'm just going to get into it. Deku stood alone amongst the rubble, his mind flooded with questions. What just happened? How am I able to use Katran's quirk? More importantly, whose voice do I keep hearing in my head? One of these questions were answered when he heard,
Your unique skill, Great Sage.
Great Sage? Who? Who is that? Deku asked.
Answer.
I am a conceptual intelligence capable of analyzing, replicating, and combining the biological phenomena known as quirks when certain conditions are met. I also possess a vast amount of knowledge on most topics. Izuku didn't know how to process all of this, his mind going numb just trying to wrap his head around it all. So basically, there's some sort of AI in my head and it has the ability to copy people's quirks? Izuku's thoughts process was quickly interrupted when he heard,
Notice.
due to the acquisition of the skill Great Sage, the user's thought processing speed has greatly increased by 1000 times that of the average human. In addition to this, the user's mental capacity and multiple areas of the brain have also been greatly improved. Suddenly, Izuku got the worst headache of his life. His head burnt and his mind quickly dulled. The last thing he remembered was his face meeting the ground before everything went black. Izuku woke up with a jolt, his mind running at an incredible pace, rapidly taking in his surroundings. He was on a bed in a white room. Across his bed, he could see a desk with what looked like medical documents, as he could see a picture of himself with some personal info of his. Looks like I'm in the hospital, which means what happened yesterday wasn't a dream. And as if on cue, he heard,
Notice.
all mental adjustments have now been completed. Mental adjustments? Izuku asked himself. Ah, I remember now. Great Sage said that my mental capacity had greatly been increased, so that's why I had that headache. Correct, answered the voice. Before Izuku could ask any more questions, the door suddenly opened, and with it came in Izuku's mother and the quirk doctor. Oh, looks like the young sir is finally awake. Before he could respond, Izuku received a bone-crushing hug from his mother. She didn't utter a word, but he could tell how much she had been worrying about him. He then turned his attention to the quirk doctor, who was taking a seat next to his desk. Young sir, do you have any recollection about what happened yesterday? Yes I do. That's good. It means you haven't suffered any memory loss. Well, while you were asleep, we did some tests on your body and we found out that you had developed your quirk. What is it? Inko asked, excitement evident in her voice. We have dubbed this quirk Copycat. This will allow the young man to copy the abilities and quirks of others, but only upon exposure to them. Inko stood there in utter shock, her mouth agape, a word unable to escape her mouth. The doctor took this chance to speak once more. It seems, in addition to this, his quirk gives him an increase in mental capacity, which would explain why he passed out. Sudden surge of brain activity was probably too much for him at the time. The best thing to do for now is to allow him to rest, both physically and mentally. Inko finally was able to utter a word. She thanked the quirk doctor and took Midoriya by the arm and walked out the hospital. As soon as the door closed behind them, the quirk doctor gave a sinister grin as he picked up a phone and started dialing a number. Hey, I think I found someone of great interest. Could be very useful in the Sure. When the two Midoriyas entered the house, an eerie silence fell upon them before it was quickly replaced by that of joyous cheers. Inko was ecstatic that her boy finally got his quirk, meaning that he wouldn't be bullied anymore, and especially with a quirk as great as his. On the other hand, Deku was just relieved that he got a quirk at all. For a moment there, he was just beginning to think that he might be quirkless. Finally, he could follow in the footsteps of his greatest hero, All Might. The two shared a warm embrace before separating, Inko going to the kitchen to start dinner and Midoriya going to his room, eager to learn more about his quirk. In Izuku's room, his mind was going at 1,000 thoughts per second. He was thinking about every potential application to his power and potential drawbacks to it. Wow, I could think really fast before, but this is on a completely different level. I should ask Great Sage more about my power. He took a pause. Great Sage, he thought in his head. A yes was his only response. You said before that there were conditions to be met before you could analyze and replicate someone else's quirk. Could you explain? Yes, was his response. Before a replication can be made, your body will need to be exposed to the quirk itself once or more. The amount of exposure you need is dependent on how complex the quirk is. Oh, is that why when I was fighting Bakugo, he had to hit me multiple times before I got his quirk, but the winged guy had to only hit me once before I got his quirk? Affirmative was his only response. You also mentioned that you have the ability to combine the quirks that you have analyzed. Is that correct? Affirmative was his only response. Alright, is it possible for you to do it now? Yes, but it requires permission. Do you grant it? Yes, said Deku without hesitation. Commencing merging. Quirk explosion and quirk wing will be combined. Process starting now. Merging, merging, merging. Merging successful. New quirk has been achieved. This quirk, combustion wings. And that's where I'm going to be leaving it off for part 2. If you liked this video, please leave a thumbs up, subscribe, and leave a comment. It will really help out as my channel is only just getting started. Anyway, see you guys later.